How desolate lies the city that once thronged with people. The one-time queen of nations has become as a widow. Her children are led captive before the face of her oppressor. The Lamentations of the prophet Jeremiah as said by Thomas Tallis and performed by the Tallis Scholars under Peter Phillips. Each section of this big piece is separated by the Hebrew letters, which you actually hear them sing in order, Aleph, Bet, and so on, all the way down to Chet. Jerusalem, turn to the Lord your God. One of the great pieces of the English Renaissance, Thomas Tallis' Lamentations. I think we could do with a little change of mood after that marvelous but deeply sad music. So here's a little solfing song with the King's Noise, the violin band. Still music of Thomas Tallis. A solfing song, spelled S-O-L-F-I-N-G. I guess that's a sort of solfeggio. The King's Noise was the violin band playing that. Music of Thomas Tallis. You're tuned into Exploring Music, and this week we are listening to Tudor music, music of 16th and 17th century England. Drop us a line. Write to us at exploringmusic@wfmt.com. So let's make a short medley now of three pieces of Thomas Tallis, beginning with a very reverent and beautiful and extremely simple setting for the English liturgy. If ye love me, keep my commandments. Let's bring back King's Noise to play Fond Youth is a Bubble, and then finally Tallis once more in the Latin mode, Miserere Nostri. Music of Thomas Tallis.
Israel.
beautiful sound they make. That's the Tallis Scholars under Peter Phillips. Miserere Nostri, music of Thomas Tallis. Before that, we heard a little fiddle tune, Fond Youth is a Bubble, and an Anglican hymn, If Ye Love Me, Keep My Commandments, they all say, because they're very English there. Tallis was nearly 80 years old when he died.
He was in starting construction. Yeah, it was at Whole Foods the other day. I'm like, wait, what happened over there?
Oh, choose speech.
That.
I forgot what you did.
That's okay. I never have it when you're not here, so I just have to make it up.
Yeah, he just wings it. It's kind of hilarious.
I just throw some stuff together.
It's kind of hilarious. Because you miss stuff.
Good evening, everyone. We'll begin today's meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals of the City of Evanston. I do have a little speech, which I apparently have misplaced this evening. But this is the Zoning Board of Appeals. We hear variances for the City of Evanston. We will run through the agenda. I would remind everyone that we are audio and video recorded in this room. So it's important that if you are speaking, that you come up to the microphone and that only one person speaks at a time so we can be accurately recorded. While we do not follow the strict letter of evidence, we do ask that you keep your statements to your own personal knowledge, and you will be sworn in as you come up to speak or at the beginning of each case. Oh, sorry. Let's see, who do we have here? For board, we have Mary Beth Burns, Matthew Rogers, Scott Kingold, and Claire Weinberg, and I'm Lori Summers, your current chair. And down at the end, we have Alyssa here for city staff. Okay, sorry. I also have a cold, so you'll have to bear with me. Stop. Okay, our first case for this evening, meeting minutes. I need to follow myself here. We have meeting minutes for November 27th, 2012. Are there any comments regarding the minutes? They were quite short. Is there a motion regarding approval of the minutes?
I would move that we approve the minutes from our meeting on Tuesday, November 27th, 2012.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried unanimously, and so those minutes will be recorded. Moving on to our first case now then, which is 1734 Sherman Avenue. Is the applicant here? Would anyone who would like to speak to us regarding this case please stand now so that I can swear you in? Please raise your right hand. Just anyone who, first anyone who plans to speak to us at all. If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout the course of these proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. And when you come up to the podium, we do ask that you give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Stan Weisbrod, 56 Lake Street.
Okay.
I am the...
You're going to be the representative for the applicant.
Well, I have two members of Starbucks with me.
Okay.
And if there's any questions because I'm not a member of Starbucks, I'm the architect.
Right.
If there's any questions that I don't know, I'll rely
Okay.
on them to answer for me.
Okay. I'm going to interrupt you for a second here so we can read the case into the record, and then we'll move on.
Stan Weisbrod, architect, applies for a special use for a Type 2 restaurant, Starbucks, at 1734 Sherman Avenue. 1734 Sherman Avenue is located in the D2 Downtown Retail Core District, which requires a special use permit for a Type 2 restaurant to operate. Zoning Code Section 61134. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes a recommendation to City Council, the determining body for this case. Documents that are placed on file as a part of the record include special use application submitted November 26, 2012, Plat of survey dated August 23, 2004. Business description, zoning analysis, standards form, site plan and elevations, aerial view of property, zoning map, image of property, and Spark draft meeting minutes from January 2nd, 2013.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Weisbrod.
So basically, there is an existing Starbucks store that is on that block, and Starbucks is proposing to open up a new store about 2 doors down and renovate that building. And because of the nature of its being considered to be a type 2 restaurant, it needed a special use application, and so we submitted for this application for the variance.
Okay, and we know that there's an increase in size from the existing location to the proposed location, and I think actually probably a fair amount of our questions are going to be for the representatives from Starbucks, probably, because they're going to have to do with the operation and the things that are being sold and things like that. So we will certainly grab you as needed, but I think my first question is going to be understanding if there are any significant changes in what's being sold, what's available for takeout, things like that.
Do you want to answer that? Or?
Yeah, hi, my name's John Bell. I'm Store Development Manager with Starbucks
Thank you.
Corporate.
My name is Fabiana Bellos. I'm a Starbucks Design Manager.
So you had a question with regard to takeout? I'm sorry. Will there be any significant changes in the menu or product options that you have available that would alter the impact on the reusable things that would be taken out of the store, and might become litter, things like that, et Right,
cetera, et
right.
cetera?
I'd say generally speaking, no. We're basically increasing the size of the cafe. That's the primary reason for this relocation.
So there's going to be more seating, but the food is going to be the same type of food, and the drinks all the same as the other store. Everything is just going to be bigger, but not different for now.
Are the hours of operation planned to stay the same as well?
Yes.
And I saw that in the packet, but could you remind us what those are?
Well, the current hours right now are from 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. and we'll continue to keep the same hours as the current store.
And what is the parking situation for employees? Is there parking available to them? Are they required to park in a certain parking lot or location if they do drive?
Well, the employees are encouraged to park in local parking where there's parking available either by permit or free parking that's available for long-term parking. And as far as I know, I don't think we've ever had any issues. We have 16 partners at that store now, that includes a manager and a assistant manager. And with that many employees, I think that the most employees that we have working at during our peak times is about 5 or 6 partners. And as far as we've never had any complaints as far as parking that I'm aware of.
And we are not going, even when we have more seating, the number of employees is not going to increase because the size of the bar is similar to operate a cafe.
Okay.
Well, it is possible that could go from 16 to 20. There may be, because of the size, it will require.
You think it will?
Yeah.
Or There's another disagreement.
That's my opinion.
No.
Many of the employees take public transportation and some bike because a lot of them are younger.
There is no parking available to you, though, as part of your lease.
No, we're basically.
And is that the same as it is at your old location?
Correct.
Okay.
Can you describe how, in the current location, deliveries are made and how that will change, if at all, for the new location?
Sure. We have some things that are perishables, like milk products and some of our food products that are delivered on a daily basis, and those are delivered after midnight, after the store closes. Deliveries are taken through the rear of the premises, and once each week we have our coffee deliveries, and that's also taken through the rear of the premises, which would be the same with the new building as well. So we anticipate that we'll continue to have the deliveries at those similar hours for the new location. We've already got a set delivery system going, and we plan to, when the new store is ready to open, the other store will close and the new store will open the next day. And things should continue as they have.
It appears those would be using the same alley that
Correct. Yes, we're right.
you are currently using,
Yeah,
so there's no
stands,
change in that traffic.
Correct.
Can you talk to us about your trash situation and how, again, how it is and how it will compare at the new location?
It's going to be very similar. The trash dumpsters are located in the alleyway, and we currently have a dumpster right now that is picked up approximately once each week. Given the size of the store and the business the business increase that we hope will occur, that could change. There could be maybe 2 pickups a week. Just depends on how well the store does.
My understanding is that the facade of the building, you don't have no plans to change that other than additional signage, things like that, but there will be no structural changes to the facade of the building whatsoever. Okay.
Are you familiar with the city's litter collection plan, which calls for type 2 businesses to clean up the area within 250 feet of their space, regardless of the source of that litter?
Yes, we have, in the summertime, we have the summertime license where we have some outdoor seats currently and tables in front of the existing store. And that's one of the things that we have to do is police the area and make sure that we keep that maintained. Same thing with the back of the premises where the trash is located. We anticipate, again, using the other location in a similar fashion what we're currently doing.
And Melissa emailed the regulation to us also. So that was circulated.
Melissa, are there any complaints with the city regarding the compliance with those issues at their existing location?
Not that I am aware of.
I see in your plan that it seems as though there's some outdoor seating planned for summer. Do you guys have that now? Or is that a new proposal that has to be approved and all that sort of stuff?
It's my understanding that the outdoor seating is an annual permit.
Okay.
That plan is submitted, and the approval is done through a separate process. And
Okay.
They have previously had it, though.
we
They've
have.
Okay.
had it in previous summers.
Sorry, that was the question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So it's something you've had. Okay.
Something we have, and we intend to continue.
Okay.
But we have been told that we have to go through a separate Spark meeting for the outdoor seating. I think it was
Yes, it is a separate review. It's an annual review, so that's correct.
Alan Golden was explaining that to us the other day.
Any other questions for the applicant at this time? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to us regarding the application for special use at 1734 Sherman Avenue? Okay. Seeing none, was there anything else that you'd like to add before we close the record? Anything else from the board before we close the record? Okay, with that, we will close the record and begin our deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a recommendation regarding a request for special use to the City Council for a Type 2 restaurant. Is there any discussion before we move through the standards?
I mean, I would just say I think everybody's thinking it that, this seems basically like the relocation of a business. It's not something new coming in. It's nice to see that Starbucks is doing well enough to build out a larger location, and hopefully they'll be successful at it.
Okay, thanks. All right, with that, we will run through the standards, and I would certainly agree with Matt's comments. So standard number 1 is requested special use is one of the special uses listed in the zoning ordinance for that district. Excuse me, and indeed, in the D2 downtown retail core district, type 2 restaurant is listed as a special use. Standard number 2, the requested special use is in keeping with the purposes and policies of the comprehensive general plan and the zoning ordinance. Certainly it's the intent of this zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan to keep our downtown spaces as fully leased and operating as possible, and the expansion of this is certainly in keeping with that, so I believe this standard has been met. Standard number 3, the special use will not cause a negative cumulative effect when its effect is considered in conjunction with the cumulative effect of various special uses of all types on the immediate neighborhood and the effect of the proposed type of special use upon the city as a whole. This is an existing business which is really hardly moving at all in terms of location, so its impact on and cumulative effect related to other special uses should be negligible to non-existent. So I believe this standard has been met. Standard number 4, the requested special use does not interfere with or diminish the value of property in the neighborhood. Again, it looks like they're moving into an existing space and rejuvenating that space in the process. And we certainly hope that somebody will take up their old space, but it does not appear that there is any adverse impact with the maintenance of this location. So therefore, I believe the standard has been met. Standard number 5, the requested special use can be adequately served by public facilities and services. While the proposed location is slightly larger than their existing location, it appears that by and large, the services that they require and use will be substantially similar Therefore, I believe this standard has been met as well. Standard number 6, the requested special use does not cause undue traffic congestion. This is primarily a pedestrian area for a lot of the traffic that would be going, the patron traffic that would be going to this location. So I do not believe that that aspect will be very much changed, and we've heard evidence, or heard testimony that the traffic related to deliveries and trash, et cetera, will continue to use the rear alley access, which is the same alley that it is currently using. And the incremental increase that may happen due to the size of the increased size of the space should not adversely impact that location. So I believe this standard has been met as well. Standard number 7, the requested special use preserves significant historical and architectural resources. The location that they're going into is an existing building. I do not believe it's specifically a historic building, but we are maintaining the general structure of that facade and its relationship to the remainder of that street face. So I believe this standard is met as well. Standard number 8, the requested special use preserves significant natural and environmental features, somewhat not applicable because we are moving, generally speaking, from one existing location to another existing building. So I believe the standard has also been met. And standard number 9, the requested special use complies with all other applicable regulations of the district in which it is located and other applicable ordinances. There's no evidence that their proposal does not meet any of the other requirements, and staff has noted that they know of no issues related to compliance in their existing location as well. So I believe this standard has been met. Before we move into a motion, I would note that we have been trying to specify the timing of operation as part of our record on these cases going forward. So while it's not changing, I think that we should still continue to notate that in the motion as well and carry that practice forward. Are there any other thoughts regarding the specifics of the motion? Okay, with that, is there a motion regarding the recommendation to City Council?
I would move in the matter 12 ZMJV 0084 regarding 1734 Sherman Avenue that we recommend to City Council approval of a special use for a Type 2 restaurant, paying specific attention to the hours of operation, which would be 5 a.m. until midnight, 7 days a week. Also noting that the applicant is aware and has said they would adhere to existing garbage pickup and are aware of the city's litter collection and litter pickup plan. That's it.
Sure.
We're waiting to pause.
Friendly amendment, just that it be run in adherence with the testimony and record submitted.
Yes, definitely.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried unanimously, so good luck with the City Council. The next item on our agenda is 708 Wesley Avenue. Melissa, when you're ready, you can read that in.
Paula Zielinski, property owner, applies for major zoning relief to construct a 2-story addition with dormers and a front and rear second-story porch. The applicant requests a street side yard setback of 5.7 feet where 15 feet is required, zoning code section 6847A2, and a front yard setback of 23 feet where 24.3 feet is required for yard obstructions, zoning code section 6419B. The Zoning Board of Appeals is the determining body for this case. Documents that are placed on file as a part of the record include variance application submitted December 10th, 2012, standards form, zoning analysis, plat of survey dated October 4th, 2012, proposed site plan and drawings, elevations, letter of objection, images of property, zoning map of property, height map, images of other 2.5-story homes, Spark draft meeting minutes from January 2nd, 2013.
Hi, ladies. Would whoever wishes to speak to us at all this evening, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout the course of these proceedings?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Again, when you come up, if you could give us your name and address, and I'm going to ask you to start kind of walking us through the project here. However, it is kind of a little bit here and a little bit there, so we may have to
Hi, I'm Paula
work with you through understanding what's going on.
Okay. I'm Paula Zielinski, and I am the owner of 708 Wesley. It's a 2-flat, and I've lived there for about, I think it's 12 years. I'm also a math teacher at Haven, and this project is coming about because my father has had Parkinson's for about 20 years, and my mother and he both want to move up here to Evanston so that I can be of help. And I've looked at a lot of homes. We're trying to find something that will work for the three of us. And we've come up with our idea of we're going to live in the same home. Let me first of all say that I've talked to the neighbors. I have Lee Nagin and Amy Davis, who live to the west. They put a 2-story addition on their home about, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and they actually lived in my upstairs apartment while they were doing it. So I've shown the plans to them, and they are supportive. I also have neighbors to the south who are Martha Fry and Bob Schoaf. Martha, when the people to the west put their plans up, their second story up, her concern was not being boxed in. So I think we deliberately went about trying not to greatly impact my neighbors to the south. My dad, as I said, has had Parkinson's for 20 years, and he has real difficulty with mobility. We tried to come up with a way where we could put 2 bedrooms on the first floor, but it just wasn't feasible. And so someone came up with the idea of putting an elevator in the house, which when I first heard it, I was sort of panicking. But it needs to really be by the back door because that's where the garage is, that's where the easy access, that's the entry I use now. And the idea is that there'll be a couple of bedrooms on the second floor because somebody needs to be near him. And my mother also is looking for, he's up frequently at night, so we want to sort of develop that third floor so that she has space to get away. And that's pretty much where I'd like to, where we can start and we can take questions.
Is it a full elevator or is it a Lula lift?
It is. No, it's going to be an actual elevator. It's going to go from the main floor to the first floor because we're going to basically, I'll be on the first floor. They'll be also putting in a half bath on the first floor so that when my dad's in the kitchen, there'll be a bathroom down there for him to use. And we're basically sharing the kitchen is what we're doing. I mean, the whole house is shared, but that's we wanted it near the back door so that he can come in the back door and then he can go to any level he wants.
I have a question for your architect.
Sure.
Please. Thank you. I'm looking at your first floor demolition plan, and I see the existing north-southwest walls of the family room at the kitchen on the first floor, the family room, and the west wall of that, and then up on the second floor. So it's like this used to be an enclosed stair, and at some point it got renovated into the main house. So I'm confused about the need for a variance from the 15-foot setback off the street side yard. Because I see your addition, and your addition seems, although there's no dimensions, where's that south wall of that addition starting off the lot line?
Off the
South lot line. Yeah.
Could you move to the microphone, please, just so we can make sure everything's picked up?
It's probably about 12 to 15 feet.
How big do you think that family room is in the north-south direction?
I'm just trying to, which family room is?
First floor. The first floor family room in the southwest corner. The north-south dimension of that.
What's currently like the mud room?
Yeah, that structure was, I think, once a back porch, so it's on the first floor. It's one step down from
Right.
the floor level, and when you get to the second floor, it's more difficult because it's 2 steps down.
Right.
It's about 14 inches down, and the walls are about 6 feet high.
Right.
So we really have to rebuild it to incorporate it in the second floor. But it's
So your demolition plan isn't really your demolition plan. You're going to actually remove the south wall of the family room and the west wall.
no, that will, the south wall always remains.
Okay.
He's going to sister on full height studs.
Yes.
Just from the second floor up.
Right, up to where the new floor has to be, so the floor can be level at the second floor. Right.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get back to my first question. Sorry, which was on the first floor plan. So this south wall here, the new wall that you've got shown there, how far is that off of this lot line?
Oh, I'm just estimating that it's got a 9-foot to the property line. It's probably 17 feet.
Okay. Okay.
Which one are you
The
looking?
9.5 feet one?
Can you just point to us which one you're looking at? Because I'm
First
not sure I
first floor
understand.
plan.
I got that part, and I'm
I
just
was
trying to find.
I was trying to
which
figure out
wall
where
you're-
this south wall of the addition
where
was.
this south wall of the addition is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Because
sorry.
I guess I was trying to figure out why we needed a variance on the 15-foot side yard setback, but that must be just about the dormer.
No, that's from the other side.
But that's not a street, you don't need 15 feet off a street side yard. Isn't that the street side yard?
No, the street side yard is the.
The north side.
The
is
north
street
side.
Yeah.
That's Monroe Street.
Oh my God, sorry.
Do you have any photographs of the existing house? You submitted all these great photographs of other houses in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
There are some pictures in your packet from Google Maps showing both the front and the street side yard view.
Is that? Okay. Thanks. Sorry, it says, this photograph says 707 Wesley.
This is the front,
Got it.
and then there's your side.
Are these, can we have these in, for the record, or are these your, can we make
can.
copies? Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Can you just shout out to me how many pages you got there of
Oh,
copies
sure.
there?
One, two. I think this is 9 pages of.
9 pages of photographs. Who took those photographs?
I took about 4 of them, and Ellen Gallen took the rest.
And who is that?
Oh, she's the architect. I work for her.
Oh, okay.
She's out of town right now.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know if I got your name at the beginning when you started.
Tweedy.
Tweedy?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Tweedie. First name Marion.
Marianne. Okay, and to the best of your knowledge, do all of those photographs accurately depict the current state of the property?
Yes.
So we said 9, Scott? Or sorry, 11.
9 pages. They're not
9.
all photographs. Some of them are, a couple of them are printouts from Google Maps.
Okay, so 9 pages of images and photographs and some printouts from Google Maps regarding the property, which we will collectively pull together as applicant's Exhibit A. As Melissa noted, we do have a few images in our
I'm sending the photos down so you guys can look
Packet.
at them.
I think our feeling was the hardship with this house is simply the location of it, too close to the corner. It was apparently built around 1885. It's got a brick basement, and it's balloon frame, it's undressed lumber, so it has some hard things, but some charming things about it. When it was converted to a 2-flat, Ellen and I felt that they had pretty much left the first floor the way it had been, but the second floor was radically changed, and at the moment it's carpeted, so it's hard to tell where walls were, but all of the bedroom spaces and the bathrooms are much too small for Paula's father to be able to use them, and neither stair conforms to code at this moment.
So this is your usual, the porch gets closed in and it just keeps on going. Yep.
Can you describe what's the need for the front yard setback variance?
There is a big concrete stoop there with a wrought iron railing around it, and so the door is unprotected. And Paula had said that she would love to have a covered porch. And Ellen and I both felt it could have just been a roof on brackets just to protect the door, but her father is not in a wheelchair now, but probably shortly will be. And the bedroom and the bathroom for him are in the front of the house. And now the stair is all the way at the back. So we suggested that we make it a deck so that in an emergency he could be gotten outside quickly without having to try to either him mobilize to the back, to the elevator.
So just to re-summarize, to make sure I understand what you're saying, there's currently a concrete stoop leading up to the front door,
Yes.
and you're proposing to build a first floor enclosed porch and then a second floor deck on the front of the house?
We just put 2 posts on the concrete and frame off the house onto the...
Is the front of the house currently conforming to the requirement for the setback? Is it
Yes.
greater than 24.3 feet? Okay.
27, I think, and then 26.7. The 2 corners are slightly
Okay, so you want to build a structure onto the front of the house, both a deck and an enclosed front porch on the first floor that would extend out beyond what's allowed?
Yes.
Okay.
This concrete stoop is 4 feet, so that was what we were going to use, and that's a foot and what would be permitted.
Let me get this straight, because I think we're getting a little bit lost here. And the plan is a little bit unclear, actually, because the plan doesn't match the elevation. The elevation seems to call for the existing concrete stoop and steps to remain.
Yes.
And then be built, and then be building off of that.
You could use that
Structure.
as the platform.
So there's really nothing changing about the access whatsoever. The only thing that's changing is whether or not there's this second floor aspect to it.
Right, which would just be a roof in this case. It
Really?
would be
Right.
a place of refuge. if you
Instead of
will.
a covering for just the ground floor, it's a little deck up above now, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Although, I see that you're proposing a deck in the back, so
Yes.
doesn't that work as that area of refuge?
Well, it's getting him all the way to the back, and it's a very long house. So it was just a safety feature that Ellen and I both thought was maybe important in this case.
Okay.
We have a place that he could.
I'd like to ask you another question because the existing footprint of that stair that was enclosed and now it's interior space. So you're going about 3.5 feet beyond that.
Yes.
And if I look at the plan, it seems as though that may not be necessary. Because
We
the
did work
stair
very
seems.
hard I mean, there's the
Okay.
access to the basement.
Sure.
So when you come in the back door, the stair has to descend to the basement, and then a stair has to go up to the first floor. And then there's the elevator. So with those three discrete units having to happen at the access point, the only way we could make it work was to bump out slightly to the west.
Not to belabor the point, but it seems as though you could make it slightly less, given that you've got a 1 foot space between each of the runs.
Yes.
I mean, so technically you don't need to ask for 3.5 feet. You could ask for 2.5 feet, and you could accomplish your same goals. Is that correct?
That is correct. The reason we added the foot was at the request of Paula and her mother, that the stair allow light to come through and be an attractive stair rather than a simple scissor.
But you've got all these great windows on the back. It's going to be an amazing, bright stair.
My mom's coming from Florida, where everything's just bigger there, you know. So I think that's part of it. I think it's also, we just want to give him the feeling when he comes in the door that there's space in there. I don't know.
Sorry, do we know how far that front porch projects, that existing stoop?
The one in the front is 4 feet.
It projects 4 feet from the face of the building?
Melissa, I know this has been revised recently. So can you talk to us a little bit about, or they're looking at revising it? I'm not sure where we are at, but in terms of this third floor stuff, can you talk to us a little bit about what those thresholds are and where this project stands with relationship to that.
The recent revisions to the regulations for the top half story on a 2.5 story home made it so that bulk cannot be increased as much as it previously could be. In this case, it doesn't affect anything. It does meet the current regulations. The top half story does fit with our half story definition. We no longer look at the total square footage of livable area. Instead, we look at if it appears as an attic style to be that half story. In addition to that, the dormer regulations were recently changed and further restricted, and the dormers that are in this proposal do meet the dormer regulations as far as not being longer than 30% of the facade wall.
I thought that the dormer regulations, correct me if I'm wrong, which I must be, I thought you had to be a certain distance off the front or back of the house. Like it can't be right on the front wall of the house. That you had to be a certain distance off.
They do, I believe it is 20%, and I believe it's only from the front.
That's the way I remember reading it. That was from the street front.
So it's the street side. You have to be 20% back from the face of the building, but at the back of the building, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
So how do I read this and say it's less than? Like, how does something like this become less than 30%? Or what'd you say it was?
The way we took the measurement is the same way that it's dimensioned on that drawing where it shows that dormer size. And so if you take that measurement of 17 feet 4 inches and compare it to the total length of the entire house.
57.
Where are those pictures?
Yeah, they're down here. So you're calling anything that's a roof that's parallel to the main roof is a dormer. If it's perpendicular, you're not calling that a dormer. Because technically,
this whole thing
is a dormer.
This whole thing all the way back here is a dormer. Like, this isn't just a new dormer. Like, this whole extra triangle is a new dormer.
The two gables are technically dormers.
From a zoning standpoint,
Yes.
We're not considering the gables to be dormers. We're considering them to be a typical roof line for a half story. So we're considering that the dormer is only that middle section.
So if they if they hadn't done this dormer in the center, right, and they had just continued this roof up and made this, preposterous looking thing, right, this big gable on the whole side, there would be no dormer at all because you'd consider that the
Correct.
continuation of a second floor roof structure.
Correct, and that would meet the regulation for the half story as long as they would not go above the peak height.
That's a fantastic loophole.
The idea is that as long as it looks like the attic style, then we're okay with that being considered a half story, which is why in this case those two gables are not considered dormers because they are that attic style.
Okay, so there's no longer an issue about how big this area is on that third level. It's just whether it looks like an attic.
Correct.
It's interesting from my perspective because that whole wall, that reads like a wall for that whole length, which is, I think, what the purpose or the intention of that whole dormer rule was, is so that you don't end up with this 3-story wall all the way up. But this doesn't address that.
Yeah, like this doesn't seem consistent with this. Like this is not a dormer within a roof line. It's a dormer between two walls. So it doesn't seem consistent with me with the intent of that.
Right.
How did you choose which photographs of the neighboring properties you included in the packet? It seems like they're all several blocks away from the house and not the ones included on the colored drawing you made.
Ellen actually took those, and I think she had talked to Melissa. So they were homes that either had a front porch or were 3 stories. And I think it was kind of looking at about the same bulk.
Right, because there's one neighbor who's
There's a
concern,
yeah.
not the bulk.
Just to clarify, the map with the color coding, that was done by me in an attempt to show the immediate neighbors and the heights they're at, being that the letter of objection raised that concern.
But if there's a house right next door and a house right across the street that are both 2.5 stories, why aren't we seeing pictures of those instead of ones that are 2 or 3 blocks away?
I'd have to see the one. Can I see the ones you have?
All I have are the ones you submitted. It'd be better to get a flavor for what your neighborhood looks like if you had like shots of the street next to your house and not shots of the houses that are a couple blocks away.
Okay.
These are your house.
Yeah, I mean, as you drive through the neighborhood, there are these Victorians,
Right.
fairly simple ones.
I think she missed the one. There's like one across the street on Monroe, but I don't know if it's on this map. That's yeah. She didn't include. I don't think she included the 14. What is it? 1429 Monroe. Yeah. Sorry. Basically, this 1429 Monroe is essentially, I think it's the same house because my house, I think years ago there used to be those greenhouses on Monroe, and I think my house was somehow connected with the greenhouses, which were then turned into townhomes. There's a house, what did I say, 1429 Monroe. It's essentially it's the same house, but it's sorry.
The attic at this moment is finished, and there is a bathroom up there. So when Paula's mother thought of that as her refuge, we pointed out that none of it met code. The headroom and the light and vent and the size of the windows. So we tried to stay within the regulations just to make that actually a code-compliant space. It has a winder that goes up there that most men have trouble climbing up, so we had to change the stair, and that was also in the rebuilding of the back stair to make that one code compliant and take the elevator up there, all of which needed a lot more headroom. The one hardship with the house is that the roof rafters are bearing at 6 feet above the second floor level. We could rebuild the entire roof and start it at 8 feet above, but that's a monstrous thing to do to the house. So the dormers are really the only way to leave it pretty much as it is and get the necessary headroom.
I guess the issue that you're probably going to understand, I guess, feel a little bit generally from us is the concern about the kind of the intent and the bulk, and particularly the street presence of that. So not only are we kind of increasing the bulk at that level for reasons that aren't quite as compelling, but we're doing that, we're also pushing that bulk right up against the street.
Yes, and I guess it would be legal if we'd done it on the south. You wouldn't even be thinking about it if we'd done the gable on the south, but that's where Paula's neighbor was taken aback, I guess, when the western neighbor built so high and cut off her western sunlight. It had gone from a 1-story to 2.5 stories. I mean, so Paula didn't want to do that to her. So we built the gable dormer on the north, thinking that was the street side, and except for this one neighbor that, I don't know that you know her.
I don't know either.
I mean, we could still flip it. It would just probably annoy the south neighbor instead
Right,
of the
because
other.
I mean, you know, when the people built onto the west of me, Lee and Amy, it did create this big wall, which, as Marion said, cut off Martha's sunlight, who is to the south of me. And so I'm the one that asked them, you know, not to greatly impact my neighbors to the south, because even though we could have done it, you know, trying to do the right thing.
Just going to take a quick moment while we're all looking at stuff to note for the record that there is no one else in attendance in the room at this point with respect to additional public comment.
And I don't know if I mentioned, I can't think of her last name, but across the street on Monroe, there is a pair of townhomes. I emailed Charles to ask him if he wanted me to show him the plans. And I did talk to Carolyn, who lives directly across on Monroe. Her only concern is that my current old air conditioner apparently makes a lot of noise, and she wants to make sure I'm putting in something more quiet. But, I mean, I showed her the plans. She's directly across the street on the Monroe side.
Since you've now brought that up, what is the plan for the AC condensers? I don't see them on the site plan.
I know, I completely forgot about them. They are on the north side, right under Paula's bedroom windows. And so with the new ones, they're fairly old. The SEER rating will make them much quieter.
Sure.
But we were just going to replace them where they are.
But you can put AC condenser. Oh, I guess you can replace them where they are, right? That's too bad. I see in the attic floor plan, it says that there's a new ridge over that front bathroom, which I think is that, are you just replacing the existing dormer?
The existing one will stay there, we just have to go a little higher. So structurally, there is a new ridge.
Oh, because you're changing the pitch?
No, pitch stays the same.
Oh, you're recentering it.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Sorry. Thanks.
It's very complicated.
It's going
to admit.
Going up higher.
We're raising, I think, the whole ridge.
The whole ridge is going higher. It's losing its existing line.
Yeah.
And the whole front of it stays exactly the same. And then as we get to the bathroom, the ridge rises 9 inches. And it's a little odd because the main roof is a 12 and 12 and the cross gables are 12 and 14. So the valleys kind of come in at
Right, not 45s. I think I read somewhere in your remarks that you guys had considered putting the elevator inside the building, in the building proper at some point. Did you? Had you? Had you ever considered another place for that elevator?
Oh, we did try. Yeah,
Can you
at first
briefly give me one option of where you tried to put it? Please.
It flipped to the outside wall, and then that meant cutting into Paula's bedroom and bathroom to try to get the stair to work. Because we needed the basement stairs to come down where the door is, which is kind of in the old porch, without doing a great deal of work down there. So I couldn't make the stair turn and get my headroom except by the addition is actually where the basement stair goes down, so I could come up and then wrap above it. And the elevator, you come in from one side and leave from the other once you're at the first floor, and then all the other floors. And actually, because the second floor had this headroom issue, and certainly the attic does, the elevator always had to be inboard, where when you got off it, you at least had 7 feet.
Right, that you'd always be under the ridge. So, for example, if it just moved over to the east, like where the storage closet is for the part of the kitchen, if you just moved it across on the other side of that existing back wall of the house.
Yes, it did bring it up in the middle of where one of the bedrooms was, because originally we were going to maintain 3 bedrooms on the second floor.
Right, but on your second floor, it's a family room, which you already have a family room, and a guest bedroom or a study. I mean, because technically, as a single-family house, then this is a 4 or 5 bedroom house, 5 bedroom, 3.5 baths. Big house.
One on
One on the first floor, 2
1.5
on the-
on the first floor. There's 2
Sorry,
on-
4.5,
2 on the second.
and 1 in the attic.
What did I say?
1.5.
Sorry.
So it's a 5 bedroom, 4.5 bath house.
Clean this up.
So you could move that elevator to the other side of that wall, and it doesn't actually affect anything on the second floor or necessarily in the attic.
Putting the stuff in that little, in the basement, isn't that where he's putting
the mechanical room. Yes, he has space both places. The storage closet, and I think this was one problem. The first floor is a finished space with a new kitchen and a new bathroom. So it was trying to stay away from the storage closet itself is not big enough.
Right. Right.
So we would have had to build partly into the porch space. And because that was all sort of tight, Paula now uses that as a pantry. It didn't seem feasible.
Yeah, basically what it would
the
take
cost-
up your storage area and the linen or whatever that is in the bathroom and part of the pantry, basically. It wouldn't necessarily go into the
bathroom.
or the porch. It would just
Right.
it would take up those.
Yeah,
So
that's-
yes, there would be a little bit of interior remodeling, but okay. Thank you.
Move it into the storage closet.
How'd you go in?
It's not quite big enough, but. Yeah. I mean, that, and I guess structurally, that was the old outside wall of the building. So there's a full foundation wall under it. And it meant carving it up a lot more than we were hoping that we had to do, because the shaft would require removing the foundation and just putting it on the other side.
It's just saying put it here?
Mhm.
And then what happens to this?
We try to leave your bathroom alone. It would just project out into this space. It'd be the same square. Yes, it's tighter. I mean, it is hard to take an old Victorian and think about a wheelchair going through it. Ellen and I both had parents in wheelchairs, so I know what Paul is facing, and our feeling was if you take the extra 6 inches because you're bound to need it whenever you do a corridor or put a 3-foot door on it. So it was not something that Paula was excited about when we said the only way to really make it work was to bump out just slightly. And then when she and her mother thought about it, since this was going to be the primary stair, we did try to do 2 stairs, keep one in the front and one in the rear. And then the building code does not require 2, so it made the adaptation of a handicap bathroom and a suite of rooms at the front for Paula's father possible. Then it became, we'll make that back stair as nice as you can, as nice as you would make a front stair. And so that led to the extra 12 inches between the flights. So I'm not sure it's a hardship, but it's it's an aesthetic. Would you be willing to give up your 12 inches?
This is more important.
Just yeah. Are we done?
I'm done.
Okay, you're done. All right. I think we're basically as far as we're going to get. I just had one other quick clarification. I noticed that we're redoing the side also, like the side overhang door, so we should kind of look. We might need to look at that or you guys might need to look at that later or something, and see how that fits in. It's kind of hard to tell on some of this what's new and what's old, but I'm pretty sure that's new. All right. I'm not quite sure I know where we stand, but it sounds like everybody's ready to close the record. Okay. All right. Thank you, ladies. Shoot. What are you guys thinking?
I'm more uncertain about the side yard setback request. To me, the front yard setback request is entirely created by the desire to extend a large structure out the front that's not a need to have, it's a would like to have porch and deck, and to me that doesn't seem like it would fit the standards. I'm a little bit more torn on the side yard setback, which is created by the dormer construction, only because the property exists at that setback, and other than perhaps the bulk and the fact that it's adding more structure to a neighborhood that it appears may be dwarfed by a building this size. The property, that to me seems more tied to the property than the request on the front yard.
I would agree. The front porch is entirely a desired situation, not a required. The back, certainly I think there could been more economical layout of the stair/layout of the interior to maybe not require the addition to the back, but it's still within line of the existing, so it's not any more egregious than what it is already.
I'm not sure 100%. Sorry, I was just trying to resync what you were talking about, and I think I lost you a little bit there at the end when you were talking about the relationship to the other houses. What was your thought there?
I didn't. Only that it strikes me from the photos submitted, the complaint, and then the map that Melissa colored, that this house is probably already the largest one in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And its immediate area.
In its immediate area.
Okay. So you thought that was...
So my point being that the additional bulk will only add to that discrepancy.
Okay.
However, that's the north side of the house is already 5 point whatever feet from the property line, and there's not a whole lot you can do about that. So if there's, it is more unique to the property that they would need this variance if they're going to build the dormers than the variance being requested for the front yard, which is, not unique to the property at all. They just want to build closer to the street.
Okay. Thank you.
This is, I thought originally it was going to be a little bit more straightforward than it turns out. There's a couple of things, right? I'm empathetic to the homeowners and their needs for an elevator and the family needs. However, that's not unique to the property, that's unique to the owners. So I have an issue with, with adding 3.5 feet on the back of the house to fit in an elevator, which could fit within the building. It's not getting everything they want out of life, but it can be done. And so if you decide you're gonna, bring this up to fit your family's needs, and it can be done without asking for a variance, that to me seems reasonable. That seems to me the way to go. So that's sort of where I am, I guess. I mean, if I consider this as it's a 5-bedroom, 4.5 bath house, and there wasn't somebody in the house who had physical challenges, I don't think I would think twice about giving them the variance, because there's nothing unique. There's nothing, in my opinion, that's unique to this property that means you need that extra 3.5 feet. You already have that extra stair portion that can be made interior space, so that's sort of where my thoughts are.
Anything to add, Matt?
Unlike some of my fellow board members, I'm not as concerned about the 3.5 feet on the back or the front porch, but I'm very concerned about the north elevation becoming a large wall. I think that it really just builds an imposing structure, and especially since it's only 5 feet off the property line, and that is a street side, even though it is a side yard, it is a side street. To have something that's just that much building right there, I have concerns with.
I'd like to concur with that as well. I didn't mention it, but it's, regardless of what the rules are on the dormer, that is a long stretch of 3-story wall, which is a significant change to the neighborhood, which is 1.5-story houses. And this is it's very impactful.
I also agree with the comment.
I'm going to have you hold on a second because I don't know if it's going to. I don't know that there's much to interject at this point. I'm not getting the sense that there is. From what I'm hearing, I'm just kind of looking at the standards here. Just as a quick overview for the standards, I'm looking at them and, thinking about, so I'm hearing from the front porch issues with kind of hardship, minimum change necessary, things like that related to the front porch.
I'd also add for the front porch that there's nothing unique to the property that requires it,
Okay.
which is another standard that has to be met.
And then I think I'm hearing issues related to potentially minimum change necessary, intent of the zoning ordinance related to the scale and bulk of the rear addition. Is there anything opposing that or whatever? I just want to make sure before I try to run through this that I'm understanding where everybody's at. Sounds consistent? Okay. All right. Then for clarity's sake, I am going to try to, I know that we have spoken and there were some great comments, so I'm going to try to run through this and incorporate those, and feel free to interject as necessary. This is a request for a major variation, 2 major variations, both to the side yard setback and the front yard setback for the property at 708 Wesley Avenue. As such, we will follow the standards for major variations. And with that, standard number 1 is the requested variation will not have a substantial adverse impact on the use, enjoyment, or property values of adjoining properties. There's been an expression of concern related to the impact of the bulk of the north side yard addition with respect to the feel of the neighborhood and its relationship adjacent to, very near to the street area. So it seems that this standard has not been met. Standard number 2, the requested variation is in keeping with the intent of the zoning ordinance. Again, with respect to the north side yard, there similarly have been concerns with about whether or not the bulk of this addition is in keeping with the good faith and intent of the zoning ordinance in this area. And with respect to the front yard setback, questions with respect to the need and hardship, et cetera, which we'll get to. But again, the requirement of that not meeting the intent of the zoning ordinance. So from there, it sounds as though the board does not believe the standard has been met either. Standard number 3, the alleged hardship or practical difficulty is peculiar to the property. It's been noted that with respect to the front yard setback, that request is not peculiar to the property. So with that respect, this standard would not be met. As Mr. Ingold has noted, this is a side yard, street side yard, which makes the situation somewhat unique and peculiar with regard to the north side yard. So for that aspect of the variance, the standard would have been met. Standard number 4, the property owner would suffer a particular hardship or practical difficulty as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of the regulations were to be carried out. With respect to the front porch, it appears that the steps and landing in general and their safe navigation are not significantly being altered as part of this proposal, and that there's not a specific hardship related to having the additional structure at the front. And as noted in some of the discussion, there was also discussion about it with respect to the bulk and size of the rear/north side addition, and whether or not there was particular hardship that forced the scale of that addition as well. So from that standpoint, it does not appear that standard has been met. Standard number 5, the purpose of the variation is not based exclusively upon a desire to extract additional income from the property. The owner is an existing owner who has expressed an interest in staying within the property and is making specific accommodations for the property for her family's continued use. So it does not appear that there's any desire to extract additional income, and it appears this standard has been met. Standard number 6, the alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person having any interest in the property, where the hardship, where there is uniqueness or hardship to the property, that has not been created by any person having interest in the property. But as noted previously, there is concern about the existence of that hardship in general. Standard number 7, the requested variation is limited to the minimum change necessary to alleviate the particular hardship or practical difficulty which affects the property. And again, with respect to both variances, there's been significant discussion with respect to whether or not this meets the minimum change necessary, and concern that it does not meet the minimum change necessary for that standard. Is there anything else to add before we go to a motion?
I thought you summarized that well.
He's got it. Okay, is there a motion with respect to the major variances requested?
I would move in the matter 12 ZMJV 0085 regarding 708 Wesley Avenue that we deny the requested variances based on the information that was discussed as the chairman went through the various standards.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any no nays, right? Okay. With that, the motion is unanimously carried over. I would note that just for the boards, I think we're all sympathetic to the situation for sure, and we do certainly wish you luck in your project. We just are trying to be very diligent about their standards. So thank you very much.
There's still a good solution in there. Still have a
Yes.
great house.
Absolutely.
Still a possibility there.
Agreed. Thank you, Claire. Is there anything else from the board or Melissa before we adjourn?
Just to note that our next meeting is January 22nd, and it looks like Chase Bank will actually be on schedule for that meeting, so please attend. It will be a long meeting.
Okay.
That's not really encouraging.
Way to sell it. Way to sell it.
All right. And with that, we will adjourn our meeting. Thank you.